Hi lovelies, welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to cut and sew a simple beaded Agbada top. If this sounds like something you're interested in, please watch to the end of this video. So for this project, I used about 2¼ yards of African print fabric. So the first thing is to fold the front and the back into two, the front into two and the back into two. And I have 20 inches on fold, okay, and I've ruled out my shoulder line, and from there I'm going to take a length of 42 inches. That will be the length of this top or dress, and I have 1½ inches hemming allowance. Then on the line, which is my start line and also the shoulder line, I'm going to impute 3 inches, which is the neck width, and from the edge of my fabric on that line I'll come down by 1½ inches for the shoulder slope and connect to the 3 inches point I've already noted, the neck width, like this. The next thing will be to take the neck depth of the back. I'm using ½ inch for the back neck depth and 3 inches for the front neck depth. Then I'm going to take my shoulder joining allowance of ½ inch to join the front and the back together. So that's just all the measurements that I'm going to take, like this. So I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline. I'll cut that of the back first before cutting the front. So I'll cut out the back neckline and then the shoulder slope. Then I'll separate the back from the front, and then for the front, because it's going to be beaded, I'm going to measure the neck width from the neckline. I'm just measuring center front. I'm measuring 3 inches down. I'm taking the 3 inches for the neck width all the way to the hem of the front parts, like this. Then I'm going to connect all these points I've noted. After that, I'm going to just cut this point out. I'm cutting this part out. So after this, I'm going to use the main fabric to cut out the lining pieces. So I've done that for the back. I just placed the main piece and cut, and the lining is 2½ inches shorter than what I have on the main fabric. And I will repeat the same thing for the front piece as well. So I've cut out the linings for the front pieces, and it's the same thing, 2½ inches shorter than what I have on the main fabric. So what I'm going to do now is to use the linings to turn the main fabric. So I'm going to take one piece of lining for the front and one piece of the fabric for the front. I'll place them right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to pull the lining to meet with the main fabric at the hem. Then I would turn the hem part and the sides and then bring it out from the shoulder part. I'm not going to turn the shoulder part. Then for the main for the back piece, I'm going to repeat the same thing. I would open it up to the right side and place my lining this way. Then for the back, I'll turn the neckline. Then I would pull my lining down and turn the hem part, and then the sides. I would then turn it out from the shoulder part. So I've done all that. You can see that for both the front and the back pieces, the shoulders are just the only thing I did not turn, and I've turned to the right side and I've ironed very well. So you can see what I have. So at this point, what I'm going to do is to place them the way it should be, right side wrong side to wrong side, like this. Okay, so I'm going to join them by the shoulder, but I'm going to place them right sides, wrong sides facing each other. Then I'll go to my sewing machine and join them with 1/4 inch, like this. I'll join this side and join the other side. So I've sewn with the 1/4 inch. You can see what I have. I sewed, my sewing is on the right side at this point. I sewed with 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to flip it now, right sides facing each other. Okay, so I'm just doing this so that I will hide my seam. Okay, so I'll have a neat finishing. So I'm going to then sew with 1/4 inch or ½ inch and sew the shoulder again. Now right sides facing each other, I would sew. So I've done that. You can see what I have. You can see, so everything is now neatly finished. I've joined everything together So this is what I have at this point. So the next thing now will be to start beading the front part, because I'm going to attach bead to the part I cut out in front. So before I started, or before you start beading, just iron very well. Okay, so I've ironed this and I'm just arranging it very well before I start my beading. So I've arranged the shoulder. You can see the space. This space in front is where I'm going to bead, and here are my beads. I'm using crystal beads size 6. That's what I'm using to bead. And these are the beads I would use. Okay, so this is how it comes. And then when beading, you might decide to use your fishing line. If you're using a fishing line, you should use a 0.35 mm or a 0.30 mm for this size of bead. Okay, so you can use this. This is one thing you can use for, or you use your nylon thread. So for this tutorial, I'll be using a nylon thread, and they also come in sizes. So I'll be using a size 2 nylon thread to bead. So when beading, I prefer to use the nylon thread because it's flexible and it's very strong. It doesn't cut easily like the normal sewing thread. So if you have a nylon thread, you can use it. If not, I would advise you use a fishing line. And I'll also be using a size 11 needle. You can use size 11 or size 12 needle to bead. Okay, these are beading needles, so I'll be using these are the things I'll be using for the beading. So the first thing I'm going to do before I start beading is to thread my needle. Okay, so I'm just going to thread my needle. I'll cut this out so it will be sharp, and I'll pass it. Just take your time. It's not that easy to pass the thread through this needle. So I've passed my thread, and one thing you have to notice, you take your thread as much as you can handle, or should I say as little as you can handle, because this tangles easily and it's a bit frustrating when it gets tangled. So take as much as you can handle at a time. Okay, so I've cut as much as I can handle. Okay, so that's the first thing. So for me to start, I'm going to measure from the shoulder. Okay, I'm going to measure where I want to start from. So I'm going to come down from the shoulder this way by 2 inches. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm measuring down from the shoulder 2 inches on either side of the front like this. Okay, so wherever I'll start from one side and end on the other side. So the measurements I have on one side should correspond with what I have on the other side. So I've measured the 2 inches. I'm checking to make sure that what I have is 2 inches. You can decide to come down by 2 inches or 2.5 inches, whatever works fine for you. So the first thing will be to knot my thread. I'm going to knot my thread. So after knotting the thread, I'm going to pass it from one side. Okay, so I decided to start from the right side. Okay, at the tip of the place I marked, the 2 inches I came down by. Before I start stringing my beads, I'm going to knot over and over till I'm satisfied with the knots, and sure that it's not going to cut open easily from this point. So I'm going to knot 3 or 4 times. Okay, so not as much as you're comfortable with. Okay, so that's what I'm doing at this point. I'm going to knot over and over, probably 4 times before I start stringing my beads. So after making the knots, I'm going to just pick one strand, one of the crystal beads the way it came. I'm going to cut open from one side. So when I cut, I'm going to start stringing a new bead. Okay, I'm forming a new string through what I have. Okay, so this is how I prefer to bead when I'm working with crystal beads, since they come this way. So I prefer taking from the string the way it came, rather than pouring everything in a plate. But if you're more comfortable with pouring them in a plate and picking them up one by one, you can do so. But I feel, my opinion is that it's faster this way for me. So I usually take it from the strand that it came with, just passing my needle and picking them. It's faster this way for me, so I just prefer to do it this way. So I'll continue taking up till I have the desired length that I want. So that's just what I'm doing at this point. So for the first bead that I'm going to add, the purpose is to make a bead that would form a circumference that will be easy to pass through the head. So what I'm doing here now at this point is to measure the circumference with the neckline this way, so to make sure that I have up to 24 or 25 inches, something that can easily pass through the head. Okay, so what you do, you can actually use your own head as to check the circumference of your head, something that can pass easily. So for me, I checked, and I think 24 to 25 inches should be able, it will be easy to pass through the head. So when I checked the circumference formed with the bead, it wasn't up to, so I'm adding extra beads to make it up to what I want. So when I have enough up to 25 inches round, okay, so I'm going to then make a knot at that other 2 inches I marked down from the shoulder line. Okay, so you see what I'm doing, I'm going to pull this. Okay, so when I pass it, I'm going to pull on the beads on the rope so that there will be no space. Do you understand? No space on the rope. I don't want to have a gap in between, so I'm just pulling everything so it will be tight before I make a knot. You see me pulling so that there will be no space or space left on the rope without bead. Okay, you don't want it to be slacked, so that's what I'm doing. So after pulling, I'm going to make a knot the same way I made several knots before I started stringing the beads. After each strand of bead, I'm going to make several knots to end that particular line, okay, of bead. So here I'm going to make knots 4 times to secure it, to make sure that it's properly secured. And please, if you're using a nylon thread or even your normal thread, you just be careful when you're passing this way so that it doesn't tangle up, because if it tangles, it means if you can't detangle it, you have to cut and start all over again. So you just take your time to knot properly. So after knotting, I will then cut out my thread and start a second line. So for the second strand of bead, I'm going to measure 3 inches away from the first one on either side. The first strand of bead, I'm measuring 3 inches away from that, and that's how I'll keep measuring for subsequent beads, right, for the subsequent strands. So I'm going to cut off this one and then continue with the thread I have on my needle, right? So I would knot like I did before. Okay, I'm going to knot like I did for the first one 4 times before I start stringing up my beads. So I've done that. Okay, so what's important to note is that for the second strand of bead, you make sure that the one preceding it, the first bead, is not overlapping it. You see what I mean by that? There is a space between the first and the second one, and subsequent beads that I'm going to string, I'll make sure that not the ones before them won't overlap them. So I've measured the 3 inches on this other side, and that's where my beading is going to end, 3 inches away. That's how I'll keep making gaps. I would knot like I did for the first one. So everything is the same step I took when stringing the first strand of bead. That is what I would do for all the beads till I get to the end of my bead. Okay, so I'm going to knot the same way, not over and over. Okay, it's better to knot 3-4 times. Okay, so that's what I'm going to repeat. So after doing this, I'm going to still measure 3 inches away from the second one to start the third line, and so on, okay, till I get to my desired length of bead. So this, I'm going to repeat the process I've done for the second one is just what I'm going to repeat. I would measure 3 inches away from this second one and do the third strand of bead. I'll measure 3 inches away, or 2.5 inches. I can decide to reduce it to 2.5 inches, okay, as I go along. Just keep making a space and making sure that the first doesn't overlap the second, just like that. Okay, so I'll continue like this, and I'll show you my progress as I go along. So guys, this is the outcome of the beading. I just repeated the first and second steps over and over. Okay, so this is what I have. So this is just a repetition of the first step to the end of the bead. So this is what I have. Okay, so at the first 5 strands, I gave a space of 3 inches, and after that I started giving a space of 2.5 inches. Okay, before stringing the next one. And the sides are going to be open like this. This is an Agbada dress or top, whatever you'd like to call it. Okay, and my beading, I stopped 4 inches before the hemline. You can decide to complete it, but this is how I want it. So guys, this is it on how to make this Agbada, beaded Agbada top or dress. And I'm going to put it on the mannequin so that you see how it looks on the mannequin. So guys, this will be worn over a bustier dress that I made. Okay, so so this is how it looks, and this is the final look of this top. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button to subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.